Hey, how's it going? Welcome back to another top 5 video, and today we're going to be talking about Gamera Kaiju. Now, I actually did all the Gamera movies in my podcast by the time this video comes out, so you should check out my podcast, John vs. Film, if you want to see what are my thoughts on the movies. In this video, I am strictly focusing on the kaiju and doing top 5 because 1, I can't be here all day listing them all off, and 2, algorithm, because thanks YouTube. Anyway, like my last top 5 video, editing and effort is not going to be at the max because, once again, thank you YouTube algorithm. But hopefully this time I don't have to dance around the copyright laws and all that and not get a copyright claim in this video because it's not music. Yay! Anyway, with that out of the way, let's get on to the list. Like my last top 5 video, I'm gonna put in an honorable mention, and don't worry, it's not gonna be the rest of the kaiju. No, I'm not gonna do blah 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 blah. It's not gonna be the rest of the kaiju. I'm not gonna cop out like last time. Don't worry, trust me. However, I do feel it might be a bit controversial. It is not in the top 5, and that is because it is Legion. Now, unlike last time, I'm a bit more organized. I'm a bit more organized, so I'm gonna be talking about what I like and what I dislike. I actually wrote those down before recording, so I'm not just coming up with words on the top of my head. Don't worry, I'll still at least sound like 90% of an idiot, so we're good on that. Before I get into the reason why Legion is in my honorable mention, I'm going to talk about what I do like about the kaiju. First of all, I really like the suit. I think the suit for Legion is very impressive. It is, so detailed, yet the fact that it can move is incredible. It is a work of magic, honestly, studio Tokusatsu magic. Legion also sports some cool laser powers, like when it has like the laser, whips going off and, hitting Gamera, impaling Gamera with those red laser whips. That's really cool. And also has that it opens its horn and it shoots out like an electric beam or something like that. So it has a cool array of powers. Also, I think Legion is a very interesting kaiju because it sort of borrows this symbiotic relationship that real world insects do. At least some of them, where I think they said in the movie an ant colony, supports the mushroom and the mushroom supports the ant. Well, that's the case with Legion, as Legion, is like trying to build up this mammoth flower, not the one from Ultra Q. No, that's different. That's a completely different flower. No, this big giant flower, and the flower kind of houses the Legion colony. There's a symbiotic relationship between the two, and both are not good for the Earth. However, the reason why Legion is only an honorable mention is that while he is a really cool kaiju, I personally find him to be the least interesting in the Gamera trilogy. Not necessarily in the Gamera series. No, I think Viras is probably the weakest Gamera kaiju, and probably Zedus as well. Zedus, because we don't know much about Zedus, but in terms of the Heisei Gamera trilogy, I just find Legion to be the weakest out of the big 3. And yeah, I'm putting some Showa era Gamera Kaiju in the top 5. Deal with it. Alrighty, so With that out of the way, let's get on to the 5 themselves. For number 5, I put on Guiron. He is the knife-headed kaiju. He has some of a ninja aesthetic to him with the ninja stars coming out of his head. He's a really interesting and unique kaiju, and probably one of the most memorable kaiju in the Showa era, partially because of the MST3K episode, if I had to guess. But other than that, yeah, that giant knife as a head, that's ridiculous, but awesome. The fact that bobs its head down to cut up the, dead Gyaos or whatever, to kill the Gyaos, that's he's a really cool kaiju, a very unique one at that. However, the reason why Guiron is number 5 is because while he has some cool abilities and has a giant knife ahead, he is also kind of a doofus. I mean, he looks like a doofus. I mean, just look at his eyes, his mouth. That's not really threatening. It looks like he's right there with Goofy and is going to say, "Hey, yuck," sometime soon. Coming up with number 4, we have Barugon. And not to be confused with Barugon, that's Toho. Barugon is Daiei. Yeah, they're not confusing whatsoever. The reason I like Barugon so much is the fact that he has some really cool abilities. First of all, he has that long, purple tongue that extends out and shoots a icy spray that freezes everything in sight. And then he can shoot a freaking rainbow from his back. That's ridiculous, but amazing. I wish I had the ability to shoot a rainbow from my back. But the thing that propels Barugon into number 4 is that he has an actual, his character actually fits in with the film's theme of greed. Again, go back to my podcast episode if you want to hear more, but for a basic gist is that Barugon is attracted to a shiny diamond, and that is kind of what has brought Barugon into Japan, is the greed of a few people, looking for a shiny object to become rich. So that attraction to something, shiny and valuable that also the human antagonist is going after, it fits in with the film's theme. The only downside with Barugon is the fact he is pretty simple looking. He's just kind of a lizard with some horns on it. Again, there's nothing inherently wrong with a simple design. It's just the thing that I notice with, why he's still a number 4 is that simple design. If he had a bit more going on, he might have been higher on the list. For number 3, we have Jiger. Now, Jiger is actually one of my favorite Showa era kaiju because, he has some very interesting powers with he can shoot those needles out of his nose. He has some sort of magnetic powers with his paws, claws, hands. I don't know, whatever they're called. The reason why Jiger is in number 3 is that Jiger is the closest into killing Gamera. Now, Leigion doesn't count, because what almost killed Gamera in Gamera 2 was the flower trying to launch into space, and Gamera was in the point-blank blast radius, so not Leigion itself. And while the other kaiju have, really wounded Gamera, it never got to a point where Gamera needed somebody else's intervention in order to revive. Gamera was always able to recover by himself, just giving himself time to heal in the ocean or whatever. But here, he needed the help from humans. So, yeah, the fact that he really almost died, and if it wasn't for the humans, he would have. That makes Jiger pretty impressive as a threat. The one drawback with Jiger is that while I like the overall design, I can't help but feel the design has also not aged quite as well. I mean, if you just look at the face, it's not a good look. Not a good look for Jiger. I think Jiger's canceled. Yeah, Jiger, you're canceled. Sorry, you're off the top 5 list. You can come in, Legion. You're number 3 now. Sorry, Jiger. I can't have you as number 3 anymore. Yeah. But seriously, Jiger, really cool kaiju. In my number 2 spot, I have the kaiju Iris. Iris is by far one of the best kaiju that has ever come from the Gamera series, and probably one of the best kaiju out there. Iris has this really great anti-Gamera theme going for him. He's an opposite to Gamera, but also Gamera and him are parallels. For example, Gamera develops a mutual relationship with the human Asagi in the first movie. Meanwhile, Iris manipulates this relationship between himself and the human Ayana, who she wants revenge on Gamera for killing her parents. So Iris uses that need of revenge to get what Iris wants, and that is to also kill Gamera. Hey, there is some beneficial to it. However, while Gamera and Asagi's relationship was mutual, Ayana's and Iris's relationship is very much like it's Iris takes, but Iris does not give, if you know what I mean. And it does end up killing Ayana until Gamera revives her. Other than that, Iris's design is hauntingly beautiful. It's supposed to be, it's like an angelic, symbol of death. There's beauty to it, but there's also something sinister behind that beauty. The only major downside to, no, you know what, it's not even major downside, it's just a tiny nitpick, really, is that in the movie, Iris is supposed to be this mutated Gyaos, but in the movie, or should I say in the design, there's little elements or motifs of Gyaos in the design. So it's kind of, like if you squint, maybe you can see a little bit of Gyaos, but I think the design could have used some more elements from Gyaos' design just to make the relationship a bit more, definite, instead of just like, at least, I guess what I'm trying to say is they could have showed, instead of tell us that Iris and Gyaos has a relationship with one another, as in like Iris is a mutated Gyaos. And for my number 1 pick, I mean, if you're a Gamera fan, you know it, it's Gyaos. Obviously, it's gotta be Gyaos. I mean, can you blame me? Like, Gyaos is like the one villain that Gamera has fought throughout all versions of Gamera movies. In fact, Gyaos was showcased in that short 2015 trailer that was shown at New York Comic Con. Gyaos is iconic to Gamera, as Gyaos is sort of Gamera's arch enemy, as Ghidorah is to Godzilla's. Besides the relationship and rivalry between Gyaos and Gamera, Gyaos has this really great bat motif, or should I say vampire motif, with Gyaos being more of a nocturnal enemy that eats on human flesh. Gyaos also has this really cool design, especially with the head. The head is iconic, as it's very flat on the top, but it also has those pointy ears on the side. And also Gyaos's ray is one of the coolest ever in concept, because it's like a supersonic beam that can cut things perfectly in half. Usually a lot of monster beams, they like when they come in contact with stuff, they just blow it up, where Gyaos's beam, it doesn't blow stuff up, it just cuts things in half. And that's a cool ability. That is a cool ray. If I had to pick my favorite version of Gyaos, it's obviously the version we get in Gamera Guardian of the Universe. While I love the Showa era version of Gyaos, the Gyaos in the Gamera trilogy really steps it up. The one downside of Gyaos is that Gyaos sort of gets weaker with each new entry. I mean, Gyaos was a really big threat in the first, like in his first appearance in Gamera vs. Gyaos, and was a pretty big threat in Gamera Guardian of the Universe. However, there was 3 Gyaos in Gamera Guardian of the Universe, and only one gets to be sort of a major threat to Gamera, or at least a pretty, decent sized threat to Gamera as it becomes Super Gyaos. But yeah, after that, well, in the Showa era, a Space Gyaos loses to Guiron, and then Gyaos makes a return in Super Monster. The less we talk about it, the better. And in those, Gyaos loses, and especially Guiron, Gyaos loses pretty bad. But in Gamera 3, we get an army of Gyaos, and we just see Gamera really being able to take the Gyaos out pretty, easily. It's just that Gyaos has the numbers. And that's kind of been the theme. Instead of just one Gyaos being a threat, it's been multiple Gyaos being a threat, and Gamera having to face multiple Gyaos. So yeah, I would like to see, if Gamera comes back and Gyaos along with him, that we stick with one Gyaos, and that one Gyaos is a threat. So anyway, that is my top 5 Gamera Kaiju outside of Gamera. And yeah, Gamera has some really cool, unique Kaiju. And let me know in the comments who your favorite Gamera Kaiju is. And if you haven't seen Gamera, go watch the Gamera movies. They're on Amazon Prime. They're pretty accessible. Just go out and watch them. I definitely recommend the 90s trilogy. That's some of the best in the Kaiju era. But anyway, with that out of the way, leave a like on the video if you like it. Dislike it if you hate my face. Leave a comment, tell me what I'm doing right, what I'm doing wrong. And of course, press the subscribe button if you want to see more. Hit that bell icon, because I gotta say all this stuff to please the YouTube algorithm. But finally, I want you to have an amazing day. Take care and shoo-watch!